Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome to the second extra video of F-Zero X Expansion Kit. Last time we actually covered the first cup that I ever created with my own custom Treecks. But like you've also seen in that first episode, there's actually a lot more than just 6 Treecks. I was able to create an entirely new game out of all my custom Treecks, you might say, all divided into separate cups. And today we're going to do the second one, definitely the more interesting one of the two, but also a lot more difficult. So let's go change up the previous 6. As you can see, currently Jack 1 through 6 is actually inputted. And now we're going to input Queen 1 through 6. Not per se my names for the cups, but still. I actually never really thought of other names for my cups other than the Ace Cup. But I did keep the order of all of the cups, so Jack is still my first one, Queen is the second one, King is the third one, etc, etc. Allow me to actually do this quickly, so you can actually see how that works. I'll try not to show this off next time. But I think it's actually fun showing this off at least once, so you can actually see how the changing of your edit cup actually works. Right, this is the final one. Queen 3 on edit cup 3. And don't worry about the names. Like last time, I'm actually going to overlay the names with the actual names of the Treecks. Because the names you can actually input when saving is actually not long enough in order to get the true names of these Treecks in. You're also not able to put in the sub names, so I'll do it like that. As you can see, here we have Queen 1. This is going to be Port Town 2. Long jump. Emphasis on the long. Track layout actually also looks nice. But be warned, even though I'm officially playing on Master with computer players in a Grand Prix, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of the computer players today. From experience, in the past, whenever playing along with these Treecks earlier, I actually found out that... oh, I still need to input the super machines. But I actually found out computer players actually have a lot of trouble with these Treecks from this point on. The only reason why I don't really care about that is because I'm officially here just to show off the Treecks. Not per se to show off how the computer players actually fare on them. But to see what I mean in a minute. Alright, one of the characters I actually did not play as, on difficulties higher than standard, is Jodie Summer. But we did see her regular machine, but we haven't seen her super machine yet. I think I'll pick her for my Queen Cup. In this second extra video, the Super Cat is going to take on probably the most difficult cup we've seen so far in the entire game, my Queen Cup. Let's get started with Port Town 2. Take mine to the first jump. Yeah, it's called long jump. And as you can see, the computer players are not smart enough to realize you actually need to keep your nose up in order to reach the other side of the track. Something I actually cannot help. The whole gimmick of this track is long jump, and therefore making long jumps. Jumps where you actually need to keep your nose up in order to reach the entire jump. And computer players are actually not programmed to jump like that, unfortunately. And therefore they're stupid enough to actually put their nose down and fall off the track immediately. But at least I am able to actually still drive on here. Basically making a time attack out of this one. There's going to be a couple of tracks in the cup where computer players do usually reach the finish line, but not a whole lot of them. Be prepared to actually see this more often. When it comes to that, I think the 5th track in the cup is actually going to be the most interesting one. Because that is not per se a death track for the computer players. All of the other ones, I believe, are. We'll see how it goes. This one is still pretty basic, all with all. This is still the first track in the Queen Cup after all, so it's not too complicated. But with one simple gimmick, namely the fact that you need to make long jumps. Keep your nose up. Anyway, there we go. Here's the final pit area to move on to the finish line and cross it. And that was the first track. And I was the only one who was able to finish. But don't worry, it's not going to take the computer very long to fall off itself. Just wait for it. Yeah, there he goes. Oh, I always make my tracks way too difficult. Computer players can't handle it. And here's going to be another one. Here we have the first space plant of my own created tracks. And this one is Sharp Pipe. And most of all, take note on the part you see up top there. As you can see, the corners are very tight there. And yes, it is indeed going to be a pipe track. So I think you can imagine what the gimmick is going to be here. Alright, let's get started. We have a good machine for it, so we should be able to take these turns without destroying ourselves. Let's go. Alright, here we're going to enter the pipe. Ow. Baba, no. This part is relatively tame. This is actually the reverse loop in pipe form. Also looks interesting. A couple of twists. Now the real deal actually gets started. The pipe with... And I got a star. Pipe with very sharp turns. Be careful because this can be very confusing. Also very difficult. As you can see, the computer players are also not able to actually exit the pipe in the proper way. They fall off pretty fast. But not as fast as in Port 2 just now. Actually able to stay alive a little bit longer here. And especially the pipe exits where the exit is upside down. And the computer players usually have a tendency to exit in the wrong way and therefore fall off the track. That's pretty much what is happening to them. Also something I cannot help, so it's their fault for not being programmed correctly. There's still a couple left. Not all fall off, so kudos on the Skull, Mrs. Arrow and Treecks. For actually being able to keep up with me on this track. Now only Mrs. Arrow remains. Right, one last sharp turn section in the pipe. Still alive. Mrs. Arrow also still alive. Yeah, looks like she couldn't finish. Kudos on you, Mrs. Arrow. The only computer player who was able to reach the end of the track. And therefore proving it is indeed possible. Awesome. But the computer who takes over from me is not able to actually stay on the track. Still falls off. And I did not see a second explosion, so Mrs. Arrow is probably still on the track. Awesome little second track. Let's move on to the third one. Now that we're still having fun here. And this is actually my first Sand Ocean. Large and small. And I must admit, I really love how the overall layout looks. Awesome little shape I've created here. But large and small is something you actually cannot see on the layout. That we can only see while racing. So let's move on to track number 3. Remember how you're actually able to play around with how wide the track is in the course edit, making it very small or very large. And that is actually something I played around with here, as you can see. Very small bottleneck sections combined with very wide open areas, creating this little effect, for instance. Ow. Oh yeah, these are still master computers after all. Right, entering a corkscrew, also a small track of course. Suddenly widening out. Same deal here. And once again, the computer players don't realize they need to keep their nose up in order to jump correctly here. Now, if only I was able to program these computers. But unfortunately I cannot, so cannot always take them in account. While creating these tracks, I only try to make my own personal challenges, making difficult and interesting gimmicks, and that the computers aren't able to actually keep up with them, that is not my problem. I don't really have any trouble staying on the track here, so it is not my fault. But that is usually how I look at things. So let's go finish this track all by ourselves. Overall, pretty interesting looking track. Funny little gimmick. And also design-wise, I think this one is not too shabby. Still one more lap to go. Last time in the tunnel. Awesome. Icy turn. Perhaps the only downside of this one is the fact that you don't really have a whole lot of booster opportunities. I should have added a second pit area here. It's actually also something I can actually do later. There's more tracks that actually need some readjustments. This might also be one of them. Could use an extra pit area in the middle section. But anyway, this is what it is now. Sand Ocean, large and small. Once again, everybody fell off the track, so with the exception of Mrs. Arrow, everybody has 0 points. Poor guys. Track number 4. And this is actually a pretty interesting one. And this one's compared to the first Devil's Forest I made, the Y track, which was based on Devil's Forest 5. And this one is once again another redesign of an already existing track. And I think if you look at the shape, you can already recognize which one. This is indeed Silence 3 outside loop remodeled. I combined the already existing gimmick of that track with the gimmick of Devil's Forest 3 Mirror Road, creating an outside loop and mirror road combination. This is actually how it looks. You just wait until we find the outside loop area. It looks a lot more awesome now. Ooh, you can already see the mirror road here. Two tracks laying over each other. It looks even more awesome in the looping. The computer players once again not programmed correctly, so they drive too fast here. Which I think is weird, because in Silence 3 they do know how to actually keep their speed in that section. And yet over here they're not able to. Even though it's exactly the same track at that part. So, once again, don't look at me when it comes to the computer players falling off. Not my fault. This track, at least the first part of it, is exactly the same as Silence 3 in the original F-Zero X expansion kit. So, them falling off, it's not my fault. But at least they did not all fall off, so perhaps they can even make this interesting for us. This is another track where there's not a whole lot of boost opportunities, so... And not just per se because of the pit area only being one pit area. It's also a matter of the outside loop area, where you of course also cannot go too fast. These guys might have proven already. Well, at least I still have my rubber band rifles with me, so perhaps they can make it interesting. Ooh, this looks so awesome. The outside loop above us in the camera. Awesome little effect. The whole reason why I actually created this track. Oh, Jack. What are you doing? You're my rubber band rifle, so you don't fall back on your own. And Octonan's also still here. Ooh, you got lucky there. Entering the waste area, otherwise you would have fallen there with that speed. Right, one more upside down section. Doing looping again. Maybe this time an inside loop, you might say. Mirroring the outside one. Creating this awesome effect. Alright, let's go boost towards the finish. Hi guys. Awesome. Well, that was Silence 2. Originally Silence 3, but in my game Silence 2, of course. Also a pretty long track, as you can see. 2 minutes, 27 seconds. One of the longer tracks we've ever seen in this game. Including the original game. But at least we have some more computer players with points now. There's 4 computer players in the standings currently. Moving on to track number 5. which, like I promised at the beginning of this episode, is probably going to be the most interesting one. Not per se because of the layout of the track, but most of all because I think this is the only track in the Queen Cup where the computer players usually do stay around. There's a couple of them that do fall out, but not all of them, at least not usually. So let's go see how special track actually works. As you may remember from the project, I use the term special track more often, and I always use it whenever referring to pipes, cylinders and half pipes. And that's indeed what this track is. First we get the pipe section. Bye guys. Ow. But anyway, continuing talking about the gimmick of the track. After the pipe we get a cylinder section, often pretty basic. And then we twist ourselves into a half pipe section. All three of them pretty basic because we have some gimmicks regarding all three of them. We've seen the gimmick of the pipe track already at the beginning of this cup, the sharp pipe. But I also have a couple of gimmicks when it comes to the cylinders and the half pipe. Both of them will actually be covered later, therefore I wanted to keep the gimmick of this track pretty basic, and therefore all three of the sections are not per se that complex. All three of them are just a simple 270-degree turn, as you can see. And because of that, the computer players do have a tendency to stay around a bit more. Therefore, this track actually becomes really challenging to win. Because just like with the other tracks, the computer players aren't per se programmed with the proper speed here. They go a little bit too fast. Therefore, catching up with them is actually really challenging. Therefore, making this track really fun. Because I like being challenging. Already in 10th place. Still 3 seconds behind the leader, so... Alright, let's fill up our booster one last time. Try to get the dash plate in the cylinder. Yeah, thank you. Final half pipe section. People falling off. Yeah, it is an upside down section, so I can imagine. At least we survived, that's the most important thing. Finishing in 4th place. 19 computer players reaching the end this time around. So when it comes to the opponents, this is definitely the best track in this cup. As you can clearly see. These guys can actually beat me on this track even, so kudos for them. They can actually use a couple of points, at least most of them. Because as you can see, the difference is more than 300 points, so they're not a threat for my gold trophy when it comes to that. 21 computer players now in the points. Nice for them. Moving on to the final track of the Queen Cup, and therefore also the final one of today. We have Loop Venue, which is actually my first Red Canyon. Looks pretty complex, as you can see. And trust me, it looks even more complex whenever you start seeing the track itself. So let's get started with the final track of the Queen Cup. And there is a jump plate behind us. We'll see that the moment we start entering the second lap. Now let's see how this one works. It's called Loop Venue because the track actually makes use of 3 loopings, with all 3 of them designed in a different way. This first one is pretty much a normal one, as you can see. Then we start moving into the second one. You will see this one actually is turned sideways, making it a giant turn. I think you can see what the gimmick is already. And then a pretty interesting weird turn, which I couldn't resist putting in. And then we get the final loop, which is actually an outside loop, but deliberately designed in such a way that you need to make use of the dirt area here in order to make sure you don't fall off. Something the computer players once again aren't able to understand. Therefore falling off. And the finish is actually in the middle of all 3 of the loopings, as you can see. Creating this awesome little venue. That is my final trick for the Queen Cup. It's a pretty interesting looking track. Once again, not my fault that the computer players aren't able to clear this one. It's their fault for not being programmed correctly to understand my gimmick. They have not all fallen off yet, but I'm actually pretty sure that will happen now. Yeah, there goes Falcon. And there goes the rest. Yeah. It's usually the part where the braking needs to happen in order to make sure you don't fall off the outside loop. And that is usually where they start falling off. Computer players are never programmed to understand braking in the game. That's something we're going to see in a later track as well, which actually makes use of braking as a full track gimmick. So you can imagine they will also start falling off there. I'm pretty sure that is a King Cup track, now that I think about it. Yeah, I think it's in the King Cup. Might also be in the Joker Cup, but yeah, it's been quite a while, so I'm not really too sure about the exact order of my tracks anymore. Especially in the third and fourth one. I do remember which tracks are my Ace Cup tracks, but not per se the order of the King and Joker Cup. We'll see that next time. There we go. That was Red Canyon 1 at least. Loop Venue. So, that clears another one of my cups. And this one is 2:21, so also not per se a short track. But Silence 2 was a little bit longer. Which is perfect, reaching 21 minutes in the video. So we have a perfect new episode to upload on the channel. Let's go over the results, finally. In order to close this off fully. Edit Cup Part 2 on Master. Starting off with Port Town. The second long jump. I was the only one to reach the finish line. On Space Plant, we did have Mrs. Arrow who was able to finish. Sand Ocean, I was once again the only one. On Silence 2, I was actually beaten even. And once again on Mute City 2. Then came Red Canyon, and I was once again the only one to finish. So, general ranking, of course, going to be first. So, now we can also actually look at Jodie Summer's picture for the first time. Also something we did not see, of course. Last time we did the cup with Jodie Summer with her regular machine. It was a novice, and then you will never get the picture. However, it's also not going to be a regular picture because of me never actually using a super machine. And this is actually also something that never came up. But whenever completing a cup with a super machine, you will also get a new picture. In this case, you can't really compare it to the previous one because we never saw the previous one. But believe me, it's a different picture. With Jodie Summer's new design. Just saying thank you and nothing more. But anyway, thank you for watching my Queen Cup. Next time we're going to continue with my third cup. Trying to see if the tracks become even harder. And let's go see if we can actually make the tracks so difficult that every single computer player is going to fall off on every single track. And yet, me personally, not retiring a single time. That would be interesting. Perhaps the difficulty can be increased even more next time. See you folks then. And thank you for watching this one. Tracks 7 through 12. Treecks out.